the audience just wouldn't let us go. They just wanted more and more and more, and in the end we just exhausted everything that any of us knew individually, collectively, or what. But I think we even did, I saw her standing there at the end in the encores. The encores just went on.
Picture this. A silent night settles over an old home in London, guitars resting like sleeping giants, amps cold from battles long past, and in the middle of that stillness sits Jimmy Page, the architect of thunder, the sorcerer behind Led Zeppelin, the man whose riffs redefined rock history. But tonight, he isn't a legend. He's a man alone with the weight of the past, facing a truth he has never dared to speak aloud. After decades of global fame, chaos, triumph, and myth, Jimmy Page finally reveals the one band he believes stood above even Led Zeppelin. A confession no fan ever expected, a name no one saw coming. And tonight, he says it out louder. For years, fans worshipped Led Zeppelin as gods of rock, untouchable, unchallenged, unmatched. But as memories rise inside him like ghosts summoned from the past, Jimmy Page finally whispers a confession almost unthinkable. There were 5 bands he believed were greater, not because Led Zeppelin lacked power, brilliance, or legacy, but because these 5 bands changed the world so completely that even Zeppelin's magic was shaped by their fire. And so, as the night deepens and the air grows still, he closes his eyes, and the first giant takes shape. The first is the Beatles. Their shadow was impossible to escape. In the early 1960s, they didn't just dominate the charts, they dominated culture, identity, even human emotion. Jimmy Page remembers standing in recording studios as a young session guitarist, feeling the entire foundation of music shift each time these 4 young men from Liverpool released something new. They were like a natural disaster of creativity, rearranging the landscape with every song. They didn't just record albums, they created cultural events. From the innocent charm of Please Please Me to the psychedelic brilliance of Revolver and SKT Pepper, they redefined what music could be. They were the architects of modern sound, turning rock into poetry, theater, rebellion, philosophy, and intimate confession all at once. Their evolution forced Page to evolve too. If Led Zeppelin wanted to stand beside them, they couldn't be ordinary. They had to become mythic, mystical, larger than life. The Beatles set the stage. Zeppelin would one day unleash the storm upon it. But the spark began with those 4 men in matching suits who turned the world upside down. Then comes the darkness, the danger, the rebellion of the Rolling Stones. If the Beatles built the universe, the Rolling Stones corrupted it with style and swagger. They were the seductive sin of London, embodied in sound. Their music wasn't polished or polite, it was raw blues dripping with lust, ego, hunger, and electricity. 2 rising musicians like Page, they represented the forbidden path. The path that wasn't safe but was irresistible. Mick Jagger slithered across the stage like a creature carved out of pure confidence, while Keith Richards lived as if fate itself couldn't touch him. Even his overdoses were met with smirks, as if death tried to reach for him and failed. This was a band that didn't want approval. They wanted to shatter expectations. They weren't trying to fit in, they were trying to tear the world apart and rebuild it in their own wild image. Jimmy Page admired their fearlessness, their refusal to apologize, their ability to weaponize rebellion. But then came the night that changed everything. Altamont 1969, a free concert, rumors swirling, Hell's Angels as security, the atmosphere growing darker by the minute. Then violence erupted and a young man was killed near the stage. The dream of the peaceful 60s died that night. The world realized rock wasn't just passion, it was danger. It carried chaos along with beauty. Jimmy Page watched the tragedy unfold with a heavy heart, knowing the world would never see music the same way again. But from that darkness, Zeppelin learned something crucial. Danger was powerful, mystery was powerful, energy was powerful. But then the next giant rises, one that doesn't explode outward, but implodes inward. Pink Floyd. If the Stones were the streets of London at midnight, Pink Floyd was the human mind in total darkness. Their music didn't stab. It seeped like a slow, intoxicating poison. It wrapped around the listener like vapor. Page remembers hearing Interstellar Overdrive for the first time and feeling the room melt. The walls no longer felt solid. Time didn't feel real. Sound turned into architecture, into hallucination, into something invisible and yet overwhelming. At the center of this sonic universe was Syd Barrett, a fragile genius unraveling under the weight of imagination and pressure. His mind was breaking even as he created art that felt supernatural. Pink Floyd taught Page a vital lesson. Music didn't need to be loud to be powerful. It didn't need to scream to haunt the soul. Silence, echo, reverb, atmosphere, these could be weapons sharper than any guitar riff. They built emotions from shadows, turned confusion into sound, and made loneliness feel cosmic. Zeppelin would later use those lessons in their own atmospheric, mystical creations. But Pink Floyd was the first to show Page that music could be a psychological dimension. And then the calm silence is shattered by pure, unfiltered force. The Who. Their concerts weren't shows. They were explosions. They walked on stage like a storm front. Pete Townshend didn't just play his guitar. He smashed it as if breaking every rule England ever tried to impose on musicians. The destruction wasn't chaos, it was ritual. It was ceremony. It was rebellion perfected. Keith Moon behind the drums was a human wildfire, drumming with a manic brilliance that felt like watching a man run into flames with no fear at all. Roger Daltrey swung his microphone like a weapon, unleashing vocals that sounded like a warrior screaming his final battle cry. They took rage and turned it into performance. They turned emotion into theater. They pushed volume to levels that physically shook the audience. Before Led Zeppelin conquered arenas, The Who showed Jimmy Page what it meant to create something the body could feel, not just hear. Their madness forced him to evolve. He needed to fuse chaos with mysticism, power with ritual, energy with emotion. They were the demolition team. Zeppelin would become the architects. And finally, the last giant appears, the most personal, the most painful, the most awe-inspiring, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. The first time Jimi Hendrix walked into a London club, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations stopped, and even the room seemed to tilt toward him. When he touched a guitar, sound became something cosmic. He didn't play notes, he played the truth beneath them, bending distortion, feedback, and silence into emotion itself. Every guitarist felt the earth move, and Jimmy Page felt fear and admiration ignite together. But genius burns fast. Drugs, exhaustion, and fame consumed him until his death in 1970 at 27. Though he never saw Led Zeppelin rise, his influence remains eternal to this very day still. Now, as the night deepens in that quiet home in London, Jimmy Page understands something he could never say in public. These five giants weren't rivals. They were the forces that shaped him. The Beatles created the world. The Rolling Stones corrupted it. Pink Floyd questioned it. The Who tore it apart. Jimi Hendrix transcended it. And only because they existed, Led Zeppelin could rise. Their thunder was born from sparks lit by those who came before. Rock wasn't a competition. It was a chain reaction. And in that quiet room, as Jimmy Page breathes in the echoes of a lifetime, he understands that true greatness lives in the legends who shaped him. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, The Who, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, and Led Zeppelin will echo through time forever. If this story moved you, make sure to like, share, and spread the legacy of the greatest music ever created. Thanks for watching.